Hi there. Have you always wanted to get into property investing, but you weren't quite sure how to get started? You just wanted to get your foot on the ladder, or you just wanted to simply buy your own first property or second or third, in fact, and you just didn't know where to get started. So my name is Ken Ajoku. I'm a property investor. I've been investing in property for the last 25 years, and I'm going to show you in this presentation how you can get started today. So what I'm going to do is I'll share my screen with you, and then I'll be able to take you through 4 property strategies that you can do today. So just bear with me a second. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Okie dokie. Right. So how to get started with property, even with little money, little time, and a little experience. So I'm just going to turn off my camera here so that you can see the full screen. Perfect. Okay. So let's get started. I want to get straight into this. So who am I? Who is this Ken Ajoku? Who is this guy that's just popped up on my feed or on my video or on this video advert? So let me tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll dive straight in and tell you a bit more about the strategies and how you can get into property investing and get started today. So this is me. I've been property investing for the last 25 years as a property investor. I bought my first property about 27 years ago, actually. I bought it as a novice in the beginning, then I had to learn the hard way. I, made a lot of mistakes. I done a lot of training. I spent thousands of pounds training and learning 25 years later, and I'm still learning. But I think I'm a bit more experienced now with all those years behind my belt. So I have a property investing a property sourcing and a property development company. The property sourcing company, what we do is we source properties for investors. So an investor will pay us a fee to find properties for them. And we have a development company as well, where we develop our own properties and we develop for investors as well, which is really handy. I have also a lettings agency where we offer guaranteed rent to landlords. And we've been doing that for 15 plus years, and we have a contract with the local council. I run a training academy for inspiring investors where I show and teach investors, I mentor them and show them how they can get started in property investing. And also sometimes I do JVs with those investors because they can get to places I can't get to. So this is how I improve and increase my footprint so that I can get to more places in the UK and beyond the UK as well. Also, I'm an author. I've had the privilege of being able to author a number of books and have them, have them presented on Amazon, where you can actually see them now live on Kindle and in paperback as well. So I've had that privilege. I'm very grateful for that. So let me show you some of the books. This is one of my students, James. He's holding one of my books there, Property Millionaire Secrets, and a couple of other books that I've actually created, Deal Packaging, Property Deal Packaging Masterclass book, and also the Rent to Rent Blueprint. Okay, so some of the properties I've had, this is a property in a road called Colmer Road in SW16, which is in southwest of London. I bought this property for 74,000. It's worth 571,000. It's gone up by 672%. What about this one? This was a commercial property, had a ground floor print shop, which I converted into a delicatessen, and the upper was offices, and they were converted into flats, and I'd done a loft conversion on the top as well, and I was able to put a penthouse flat on the top as well. So that was done a number of years ago. I bought that property at 165,000. Its current value now is 750,000. It's gone up by 355%. There's another one in Kent, bought at 285,000, is now worth 800K, and it's gone up by 181%. There's another one in southeast of London. This has gone up by 98.3%. So I'm not showing this I'm showing you what is possible. I'm not trying to say, oh, look at me, look what I've done. But I'm just showing you what things are possible and how you be able to start getting into property investing and have a portfolio of your own that you can, demonstrate different things. I'll be able to show you how you're going to be able to do this with no money down, with using what we call OPM, other people's money, and also how you can do this with a mortgage as well. So most of you may or may not be able to get a mortgage, or may not have large sums of deposit. But in this training section here, I'm going to teach you how you're going to be able to achieve those things quite quickly. So bear with me as I go through these things. All right. There's another one in County Durham. It's gone up by 17%. That was purchased at 72,500 and its current value is 84,000. So, you know, they don't all have to be 600 and 700%, but you start somewhere. So you start small, and as it grows, you can, you know, continue, take out the equity and do things with the equity and buy additional property. I just want to show you what's possible. Okay, so there's a number of challenges that property investors find when they're getting started, and these are lack of time. I don't have the time. I've heard this so many times. I just don't have the time to get involved. I would love to do it, but I just haven't got the time to do it. So I'm going to be able to show you how you'll be able to leverage and get around that situation. Your next thing is you don't have the experience. So education is very important. It's good to get education, but get the right education. So once you have the right education, you can move forward very quickly. So once you're given the blueprint, then you can move forward fast. It's like having a map and you know exactly where you're going. You follow the map. As long as you know how to read the map, you follow that map and you can get to where you're going. If you don't have the map or the map is upside down, you might not be able to get to that place as quickly as you need to. Also, it might be because the challenges of lack of money. Most people need quite a bit of money. If you're doing a buy-to-let, for example, you will have to put down 25% deposit, which is quite substantial if you're buying quite an expensive property. So you might have a lack of money or not knowing how to leverage money or leverage finance so that you can get that property. I'm going to show you in this training 4 different strategies that you hardly need any money to leverage to get property deals done. So bear with me as we go through that. So those are the challenges, but let's look at how we can overcome those challenges. And these are, number 1, be determined. Be absolutely determined. When I started, I was literally working 20 hours and sleeping for 4 hours. But this was way, way, way back when, you know, you just had to work really, really hard. But now you can work so smartly. You can work smartly. You can leverage the internet. You can leverage technology. You can leverage other people's experience so that you don't have to, you know, go through all that pain as well. So someone else has laid it out for you. You just follow the footprints and then off you go. So be very determined. The next thing is education. You need to get an education. Without the education, you'd be fumbling around in the dark and you wouldn't actually know what to do and how to do it. And lastly, you need to be creative. Creativity is one of the biggest things that happens. Most people think, oh, I can't buy the property because I haven't got this, or I can't do this because I haven't got that. But once you're creative and you have that open mind, then things can be shown. You're shown by a mentor what to do and how to do it, then it becomes a reality. So success is possible. So what you can do right now, if you don't have much time, is take an opportunity, click on the link below, join, book an appointment in my calendar, There's some slots going there, 20 minutes. Let's have a discussion, ask the questions you need to ask about property, and then I'll show you how you can get started and move forward on your property journey. Okay, so imagine this. Imagine what your life would be like after you've had learned how to invest in property and you are commanding a lucrative passive income. Would that make your life easier? So this is James. It's easy once you are shown the way. I started with no experience, but I am so much more confident now. Ken is a great mentor. This is Genevieve. I got my first property with almost no money down. I'm so excited. Thanks to the Kajoka Group, I have now my first buy-to-let property. So let's look at investment strategy number 1. And this is what we call the rent-to-rent strategy. I'm going through this quite quickly because there's a very small amount of time that I can do on this advert, but I want to give you as much value as I can in this short time that we have together. So let's look at this. What is the rent-to-rent? What is rent-to-rent? What is that? What is it? So in short, it's subletting a property from a landlord and then renting it out to tenants for a profit. So let's look at that a bit closely. Here's an example. So the landlord, you've agreed with the landlord a rent amount. Let's say 1950, 1950, you've agreed with the landlord. Then you rent it out to a tenant. And let's say you've agreed with the tenant at £2,300. then the profit is going to be to £2,300 what you've agreed with the tenant, minus what you've agreed with the landlord, and then multiply it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year, and that gives you the profit. So on that property, you would get £4,200 for the year. So let's look at the advantage of doing this strategy. There's no mortgage. You don't need a mortgage to do this type of strategy because you don't own the property. You're going to rent it out from a landlord and then let it out to tenants. You have little money down. So it may be that you have to do a little bit of, some decoration work. You might have to do a little bit of decoration, maybe change the carpets, give it a lick of paint, something like that. So you're going to add some type of value to that property. So little money down. We're talking a few £1,000s rather than hundreds of thousands of pounds. It's not going to be that much. And you'll be able to generate cash flow. Cash flow is what it's about. Cash is king. You might have heard this saying before. It's flexible and you can outsource it. So you can give someone else the management of that property for you. So you don't even have to manage it. Once you've secured it, you can give it to an agent or an agency to manage it for you. And you can systemize it. So you can automate it. You can put it into autopilot. You're literally just checking your accounts to make sure that the money's in. The landlord is paid. You've got the difference. The money's in your bank. It's very simple, straightforward. So would a few extra £1,000 be helpful for you? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Would a few £1,000 extra be helpful for you? Take action now. Click on the link below. Choose an available slot. Let's have a chat. So let's look at investment strategy number 2. And this is house flips. Now, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, house flips. I haven't got thousands of pounds to put down as a deposit. I don't want to be paying capital gains when I sell. I don't want to be paying stamp duty, this, that, all those other different expenses that gets involved. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can do house flips without doing any of that stuff. So let's get straight into it. Let's talk about what it is and how you're going to, the benefits of using it. So what is a house flip? Buying a property at a low price, renovating it, and selling it quickly for a profit. So let's look at this on a diagram and see what it looks like. So first of all, you're going to secure the property. When you secure the property, it doesn't mean you have to purchase it. You have an agreement in place with the seller that you're going to sell it for a particular amount of money. And that's what we mean by secure the property. Then you would do what we call add value. Add value might be a decoration. It might be putting new carpets. It might be changing the cupboards on the units in the kitchen. It might be giving just giving it a once over, giving it a nice lick of paint, making it nice and bright, and not spending too much money, but just adding some value to it to make it look more attractive to buyers. Then you will sell it. Once you've sold it, you'll be able to enjoy the profit from there, and then you can go and do the whole process again. So that's literally what a house flip is. And instead of you having to wait several months to do this, we have strategies that you can do this you can do 3, 4, 5 house flips in 1 month or in 2 months if you're a beginner. So there's ways to do this. And this is the very simplest form to show you how to do this. So it's basically, that's what it's about. Let's look at the an example, and then we'll look at the advantages as well. So here's an example. So you've agreed to purchase the property at £325,000. The renovation cost has cost you £20,000, but don't panic, because remember, we can get finance from other places. You don't have to find that £20,000. We can help you with what we call JV finance. That's joint venture finance. So we have people that would like to put money in, and we can also train you and show you how you can get people that are prepared to invest into your project, so you don't have to actually use any money, or you use your time to make the project work. So you've got the renovation cost of £20,000. You have an achieved sale at £385,000, which means that you will profit by £40,000. Now, depending on what structure you have in place in terms of how you got the money for the renovation costs, you might, for example, be sharing that profit. So even if you shared it on a 50-50 basis, you're walking away with £20,000. So £20,000 is not bad. Okay, advantages. So some of the advantages are this: potential high profits. an opportunity to learn. So if you're brand new, this will give you the opportunity to be on the ground and learn very quickly. You'll be able to acquire renovation funding, as I mentioned earlier on. You can combine this strategy with other strategies, so you can do more than one thing at a time, so it doesn't tie down your time and your resource, because you can combine it with other strategies. And it doesn't take long to do. Unlike your traditional flip will take you 6 months before you can turn it around and get the money out. This can be done quite quickly, put on the market, sold, turned around, and get your money out, because you're not owning the property, you're securing that property. So what would you do with an extra £40,000 is the question you're going to ask. Or maybe it's going to be 20,000. Nevertheless, it could be 40,000. What would that be like for you? What would you do with that? What would you do with an extra £40,000 on one deal? Have a think. Take action now. Click on the link below. Book a chat with me. Book the time into my calendar. Let's have a chat. Let's see where you are. Let's see how we can get you to where you need to go to. And then we'll show you a roadmap on how you're going to get there. Okay, an amazing experience. I learned so much. I was a complete novice, but Ken and the team held my hand throughout. Highly recommended. This is Toasting. Toasting made £56,000 in one deal. Let's talk about investment strategy number 3. We haven't got much time, so I'm just going to go through this quite quickly. After this, we've got one more strategy to do, and then I think you have enough information to, give you a good idea of how you can move forward in your property journey. So investment strategy number 3 is service accommodation. In case you're not familiar with this, let's talk about what is service accommodation. So first, service accommodation is fully furnished, short-term rental properties with hotel-like amenities and services. So basically, if you've heard of Airbnb, Booking.com, that sort of thing, that's the sort of thing that we're talking about here. You're going to get a property secured from a landlord, and then you're going to let it out on a room-by-room basis. Sorry, I beg your pardon, on a night-by-night basis, on a nightly rate. So let's look at an example of this. So let's say you agreed the rent at £1,500 with a landlord. You were charging £150 per night, and you let the property for 20 nights at £3,000. That's what you'll get. So £150 times 20, which should give you £3,000 gross. Let's say you take out your costs, your expenses. So you're looking at utilities, you're looking at cleaning and things like that. By the time you've reduced your costs, that's £600 in costs and expenses. And your profit for the month will be the £1,500, take away the cost, which will give you £900. £900 is not bad at all. So let's look at the advantages of this strategy. Again, we're looking at high rental yields. That's quite a bit of rental yields for properties that you don't even own. It's relatively quick to set up, providing you know how to do it and do it properly, because there's legal structures you have to put in place to make sure that works properly. If you don't do that, you can get in big trouble. So remember that. It has minimal tenant management. In this case, we're not looking at tenants, we're actually dealing with guests. So it's a completely different story. You don't have to evict them. They just, the tenant, the guest expires. When they expire, you now can let them go. They don't have the rights of tenants. So this is a completely different ball game compared to renting with tenants. You don't need a mortgage, so you don't have to go through the pain of getting a mortgage and be able to qualify to get that mortgage, because you're not actually going to own the property. And it can be systemized, because one of the painful things is, if you're doing this over and over and over and over again yourself, and you want to scale is when you have multiple of these going on. It can be a bit demanding. So if you've got a way of systemizing it, then you can scale. You can add multiple of these to your portfolio. So what would you do with an extra £10,800? Think about it. What would you do? Okay, take action now. Click the link below. Choose an available slot. Let's have that chat. Okay, let's do the last one now. This is investment strategy number 4, and this is one of my favorite, and it's called deal sourcing. I've actually written a book on this actual strategy as well. So what is deal sourcing? Deal sourcing is identifying and securing profitable real estate opportunities for investors. In short, what you do is you find a property that's suitable for investor, you package it, you do your due diligence, you give it to the investor pays you a fee. So let's look at that a bit more closely. So you source the property, you do your due diligence to make sure it's viable. Once you've done that, the investor will pay you, package it, and you give it to the investor will pay you, and then you can repeat the process again. And the nice thing about this is you can do many of these in a typical 4 to 6 week process, because once you source one, you could literally source another and pass it on to other investors who will pay you the sourcing fee. So let's look at the advantages of this strategy. It's low startup cost. It doesn't need much money to get started, because you just need to have obviously the training, the tools, the compliance, all the things that you need to have in place. So there's initial startup cost to do, but that's one-off that you would do, and then you would do it on an annual basis. But once you've done cover the startup costs, you can be making quick profits, because it's your sourcing for investors who will give you a good sourcing fee, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 pounds to source that property for them. It has reduced risk. And the reason it's reduced is because you are not actually purchasing the property, you're actually purchasing it, you're securing it or finding it for an investor. So you don't have to actually buy that property. So the risk is reduced. There's also an opportunity to learn. So you've got an opportunity to learn again. As you're going along, you will learn what's called a patch. A patch is where you are, is your stomping ground, is where you're going to be sourcing properties. It's good to learn the patch that you are, so that if someone says they've seen a property on this road or that road, you know the road, you know the area, you know the nuances of that particular, that area. You know which areas are rough, which areas are not so rough, which areas are, up and coming, which areas are really, very top of the range areas and the bottom of the range areas. You know the different areas, because you know the area a long time. You've been there a while and you're familiar with the surroundings. So it's really important to do that. And you can keep the deals you like. So if you source a deal for somebody and it might be a service accommodation and you like it yourself, you can keep it. If you source a deal that's going to be a flip and you can see that, oh, hang on a minute, I can actually do this myself. It's in my area. It's not too far away from me. Actually, I think I'll do this deal myself. So that's the benefits of taking on this type of strategy. So imagine this. Imagine what your life will be like after you have learned how to invest in property and you're commanding a lucrative passive income. Would that make life easier for you? My dream came true. Closing your first deal is so satisfying. Thank you, Ken and the team. I'm so grateful. Danielle is a full-time student with a young child, and she made £10,000 on her first deal. Here's a question. If all this program did was to show you how to make between 5,000 and 20,000 per month, would it be worth having that call with myself and my team? If all this program did was to show you how to pay off all of your debts, would it be worth it? Would it be worth having that call with us? Have that call, ask the questions you need to ask, get started. If all this program did was to give you a blueprint for financial freedom, would it be worth it? So imagine having passive income, having been able to pay off all of your debts, having that flexibility and freedom, creating financial security for yourself and your family, being able to contribute to charities and good causes, and helping loved ones wherever they are in the world. So what if you could cover your children's school fees? What if you could take well-deserved holidays and breaks? What if you can buy a new home for yourself and your loved ones? What if you can just have peace of mind? And what if you can just provide financial freedom? How would that be like for you? So let's have a recap. Let's recap what we've covered in this short time that we've had together. So we have talked about low cost, quick startup property investing. How you can get started very quickly. It's not very difficult once you've had the training. We've covered this and we showed you that. We've covered the rent-to-rent strategy. We've covered house flip strategy, how to do that without using too much time, effort, money. We've showed you the service accommodation strategy, and we've showed you the deal packaging strategy as well, which puts all of those strategies together. So what you need to do now, what's your next steps? So your next steps is take that action now. Don't think, oh, it sounds great, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do it next week, or maybe I'll wait till I see this advert again. You may not see this advert again. Take the time. Let us help you to design a successful roadmap for you. This is for your future, for your family's future. Take that step. Click on the link below. Choose an available slot. You will speak to me personally, and we'll be able to roadmap your road to success. Let us help you with that. There's limited slots available because obviously I can't speak to hundreds of thousands of people at a time. The software doesn't allow us to be able to have too many people on the line at the same time. Take this opportunity, take that action now. You know it makes sense. Let's have that chat. It's only 20 minutes. Book that time. Let's have that call. And let's see how we're going to take you to the next level. Thank you so much for listening. God bless. Take care.